Breaking. Prince William has just shattered 40 years of carefully constructed royal silence. He did it with 7 words about Keir Starmer's government that absolutely nobody saw coming. Within 2 hours of those words being spoken, Parliament erupted into absolute chaos. As of this report, 3 cabinet ministers have already resigned. And what happens in the next 72 hours could not just damage this government, it could destroy the Labour Party forever. If you want to see how this constitutional firestorm ends, you need to be here. The mainstream media is already spinning, but they won't tell you what's really happening inside the palace walls. Here is what just sparked the most dangerous royal intervention in modern British history. Yesterday, at 3:47 p.m, Prince William, the Prince of Wales, attended what was supposed to be a mind-numbingly routine veterans charity event at Chelsea Barracks. This is standard protocol. You shake hands, you give a short, pre-approved speech, you pose for photos, and you leave. But William wasn't there for protocol. He was there to send a message that would shake Westminster to its very core. His words were measured, calm, and absolutely devastating. Speaking to a room of decorated veterans, he said, "When those who sacrificed everything for this nation are forgotten, while others receive priority, something fundamental has broken in our social contract." 7 seconds of stunned, complete silence followed. Then, the room exploded in applause that lasted 3 full minutes. This was not polite clapping, it was a roar of approval. The press, who had been half asleep, were suddenly wide awake. Keir Starmer, attending the same event, was not clapping. Sources say he was visibly furious and already on the phone with palace officials, demanding an explanation, an apology, a retraction. Within the hour, Downing Street went into full crisis mode. This wasn't a gaffe, this was a political demolition, a constitutional firestorm, and it was a direct, unprecedented royal intervention into government policy. The chaos in Parliament had begun. It didn't take long for the statistical bombshell to drop. As Downing Street went into full crisis mode, leaked Home Office documents began to circulate, revealing the shocking, factual truth behind Prince William's calculated anger. This wasn't just a feeling, it was a mathematical betrayal. Here is the truth of Keir Starmer's immigration policy. The truth that has sent his government into a tailspin. We are talking about 47,000 asylum seekers receiving emergency housing in 4-star hotels across Britain. Meanwhile, 89,000 military veterans, the very men and women William was honouring, remain on council housing waiting lists. Many of them sleeping rough. The contrast is so brutal, so morally indefensible, that it's impossible to spin. This isn't just a policy failure, it's a statement of values. The optics are so catastrophic that even lifelong, die-hard Labour supporters are switching sides in disgust. The voice of this betrayal is Margaret Collins, a 71-year-old retired nurse from Birmingham who has voted Labour her entire life. She told BBC Radio this morning, in a voice trembling with rage, "I survived the Blitz stories from my mother. I survived the winters of discontent. But I cannot survive watching men who fought for Britain sleeping rough while illegal immigrants get hotel rooms with full board." That single interview, that one voice of authentic, working-class Labour betrayal, has been shared 1.8 million times in just 6 hours. The optics are not just bad, they are absolutely catastrophic for Keir Starmer. He has lost the moral high ground. And he has lost his base. But here is where this crisis tips from a political headache into a full-blown constitutional firestorm. William didn't stop with one speech. That 3:47 p.m. statement at the barracks was merely the opening shot. Keir Starmer's team, in their panic, likely assumed the palace would issue a clarification, a soft retraction, something to walk back the comments. They were wrong. Prince William escalated. At 6:15 p.m, he did something truly unprecedented. He bypassed the entire media ecosystem, the entire government apparatus, and the standard protocol he is supposed to live by. He took his case directly to the people he was fighting for. He made an unannounced, unapproved visit to a veterans' homeless shelter in South London. Look at how he did this. There was no media announcement. There were no official palace photographers. His press team was not notified. This was not a PR stunt. This was a mission. It was just William, 2 protection officers, and 34 homeless former soldiers who, according to staff, couldn't believe their eyes. What he said there, captured not by the BBC, but by the shaky mobile phones of shocked and weeping staff members, is even more explosive than his first statement. He looked these men in the eye, men who had served their country and were now utterly discarded, and he made a promise. His words were spoken quietly, but they have echoed like a cannon shot through the halls of Westminster. You served this country with honor. You deserve better than this. And I promise you, your voices will be heard at the highest levels. Let's be absolutely clear what this means. The highest levels doesn't mean a select committee. It means Parliament. It means Downing Street. It means the King himself. This is the future King of England. On video, making a direct, personal, and emotional promise to the very people his government has failed. That shaky video, that authentic, raw moment of royal intervention, has gone nuclear. 12 million views by midnight. The message is unmistakable. This is not a misunderstanding. This is not a gaffe. Prince William just publicly contradicted government policy. He has, in effect, just accused the Prime Minister of failing in his most sacred duty to the nation's defenders. And Keir Starmer knows exactly what that means. The monarchy, which is supposed to be a symbol, has just become a player. Meanwhile, as Prince William's viral video rips across the internet, the very men he is defending are being systematically ignored, abandoned, and insulted by the very government that sent him to war. Let's move past the statistics. Let's talk about the real people. These aren't just numbers on a leaked document, they are the human cost of Keir Starmer's catastrophic policy. Meet Colonel James Hartford, a retired hero from the Parachute Regiment. This man commanded 400 men at the Aldershot garrison. He served in Helmand Province, where he told the Telegraph yesterday, "I watched my best mate die saving 3 Afghan civilians. After 28 years of service, he lost his council flat 3 months ago. Today, Colonel Hartford is sleeping in his car, right outside the garrison gates where he was once a commander." Meet Sergeant David Morrison. This man lost both of his legs in an IED blast in Basra. When he was medically discharged, he was put on a waiting list for adapted housing. Where did he live while he waited? He spent 4 months living in a tent in his brother's garden. His application, we now know, sat in a council office gathering dust while asylum seekers were being processed into 4-star hotels within weeks. Meet Sarah Wilkins. She is the widow of Lance Corporal Michael Wilkins, who died in Afghanistan. The government gave her 6 months after her husband's death before they evicted her from military housing. Today, she and her 3 children live in a cramped, 1-bedroom flat, struggling to pay rent on a widow's pension. These aren't statistics. These are real people who gave everything for Britain and have received nothing but contempt in return. The government promised them, legally promised them, priority housing under the Armed Forces Covenant Act of 2011. That promise has been systematically and shamelessly broken under Keir Starmer's watch. Freedom of information requests reveal the damning truth. Only 23% of homeless veteran applications receive council housing within the legally mandated 12-month period. The rest, they are still waiting, still suffering, still abandoned by the very system they signed up to defend with their lives. This is the context for Prince William's unprecedented intervention. It's not just about a policy failure, it's about a morally obscene contrast. While these heroes are sleeping in cars and tents, Keir Starmer's Labour ministers are enjoying taxpayer-funded second homes worth millions. We're talking about Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner's £650 property portfolio. We're talking about Chancellor Rachel Reeves's grace and favour accommodation. We're talking about Foreign Secretary David Lammy's luxury ministerial residence. The hypocrisy is so staggering, so utterly shameless, that it has ignited a firestorm of public rage. While Sergeant Morrison, a double amputee, lives in a tent, Labour's elite are living in luxury, all funded by the taxpayer. They are a protected class, while the nation's protectors are left destitute. This is the contrast that Prince William, in one calculated, 7-word sentence, just put on national television for everyone to see. He didn't just light a match, he poured petrol on a fire that was already raging just beneath the surface. And now it is consuming the entire government. Then, something happened that nobody expected. Something that escalated this from a political crisis into a full-blown constitutional earthquake. King Charles, who has remained so carefully, almost painfully, neutral throughout Keir Starmer's first year in office, called an emergency meeting at Buckingham Palace at 9:30 p.m. last night. Let's analyse the attendees, because this was not a simple family discussion. Present were Prince William, Queen Camilla, 3 senior palace advisors, and, crucially, General Sir Patrick Sanders, the former chief of the defense staff. The presence of General Sanders is a flashing red warning light. It signals that this is not just a political disagreement. The Crown's sacred bond with its armed forces is at stake. And the military's top brass is now, metaphorically, in the room with the king. What was discussed officially remains classified under royal privilege. But palace insiders, clearly and deliberately mobilized, are speaking on condition of anonymity. And they paint a stunning picture. His Majesty was absolutely furious. One senior aide, a man who has served the Crown for 23 years, revealed to the Sunday Times this morning, "I've never seen him like this. He feels the social contract between Britain's institutions and her veterans has been betrayed." The King's words, according to multiple sources, were crystal clear and constitutionally explosive. William is right to speak. If the government won't protect those who protected us, then the monarchy must remind them of their duty. That, right there, is the sound of 89 years of precedent shattering. The Crown does not challenge an elected government. Not publicly. It hasn't happened in this manner since the abdication crisis of 1936. But King Charles, in that 9:30 p.m. meeting, just gave his son and heir royal authorization to continue his public attack. The optics for Keir Starmer are now beyond devastating. He's not just fighting the opposition anymore. He's not just fighting public opinion. As of last night, he is fighting the monarchy itself. And that is a war no prime minister can possibly win. The fallout from the King's decision and William's viral visit hit like a tsunami. The consequences were no longer just political, they were immediate, financial, and cultural. By midnight, as Asian markets opened, the pound sterling had dropped 1.2% against the dollar. By the time the London Stock Exchange opened, the panic about constitutional instability was so profound that £18 billion was wiped from the FTSE 100 in overnight trading. International investors do not like uncertainty. And Britain, in the span of a few hours, had just become the most uncertain democracy in the developed world. But the financial shock was nothing compared to the cultural earthquake. This was a story that transcended the Westminster bubble and exploded into the public consciousness. #Defend Our Veterans hit #1 globally on Twitter, now X. Trending in 47 countries with over 3.2 million tweets in just 8 hours. On TikTok, videos comparing grainy footage of homeless veterans sleeping in doorways with glossy promotional videos of hotel-housed migrants have been viewed 89 million times since yesterday evening. Facebook groups demanding Keir Starmer's resignation have added 400,000 new members in the same timeframe. This isn't just a political crisis anymore. It's a cultural earthquake that is splitting Britain right down the middle. And it's not just online. This wave of anger has spilled onto the streets. Protests erupted across 12 British cities within hours. Manchester, Birmingham, Liverpool, Newcastle, Glasgow all saw thousands marching with Union Jacks and banners reading, "Veterans before illegals," and "Starmer must go." In Leeds, a crowd estimated at 8,000 surrounded the Labour Party headquarters. West Yorkshire police called it the largest spontaneous demonstration they'd seen in 15 years. And who were they chanting for? Not a politician. They were chanting, "William, William, William." This is the key. This isn't organised political opposition from the Tories or Reform. This is organic public fury. A genuine uprising of a populace that feels betrayed, with the future king as their new, unexpected figurehead. Inside Labour headquarters, the atmosphere is not just panic, it's a complete meltdown. The organic public fury and the royal intervention have triggered an internal collapse. As of this morning, 47 Labour MPs have now publicly broken ranks, issuing statements expressing deep concern or sharing the prince's dismay, a coordinated act of rebellion. 16 of them are demanding an emergency debate on veterans' housing. 8 are openly calling for a vote of no confidence. And, most damningly, 3 junior ministers have already resigned from their positions, refusing to defend the indefensible. Inside number 10, witnesses describe an atmosphere of total chaos. Starmer called an emergency cabinet meeting at 11 p.m. last night. But instead of unifying the party, it reportedly descended into shouting matches within minutes. Transport Secretary Louise Haigh allegedly screamed at Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, accusing her of leaking negative stories to prepare for her own leadership bid. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, legally responsible for the immigration policy, sat in stony silence, refusing to defend it. But the most significant development is the fictional fury of the defense minister, James Cartledge. Multiple witnesses confirm he threw his briefing papers across the cabinet table, shouting, "We send these men to war and then treat them like garbage. How do you expect me to defend this?" Cartledge then stormed out of the meeting before it ended and has not been seen at Westminster since. His office is refusing to confirm his whereabouts. A serving defense minister has essentially gone AWOL during the worst veterans crisis in modern history. Other ministers are in freefall. Environment Secretary Steve Reed, fictional, was seen leaving number 10 at 1:30 a.m., looking absolutely shattered. Insiders claim he is facing an emergency deselection threat from his local Labour Party in South London, who are furious over the veterans issue. This is a cabinet in total collapse. Ministers are no longer defending the Prime Minister, they are defending their own political survival. And every hour Starmer stays silent, the rebellion grows stronger. But here is the part of this story that could trigger a constitutional crisis. A development that makes everything we've seen so far, the cabinet resignations, the protests, the financial panic, look like a practice run. Leaked documents, obtained by the Telegraph and marked confidential, PMO only, show that Keir Starmer's inner circle discussed their options. Faced with an unprecedented public rebuke from the Prince of Wales, they allegedly explored using the Civil Contingencies Act of 2004 to formally limit royal public statements during national emergencies. Let's be absolutely clear about what this means. The document allegedly outlines a legal strategy to effectively silence the monarchy if it continues what Downing Street calls political interference. If these documents are real, and legal experts say the language suggests they absolutely are, then Keir Starmer didn't just pick a fight with Prince William, he just declared war on the crown itself. Think about the sheer arrogance, the political insanity of this. The monarchy has survived for over 1,000 years precisely by staying above the grubby fray of politics. Wielding enormous soft power, prime ministers come and go, the crown endures. But Starmer, in his panic, is attempting to change that fundamental equation. He is attempting to muzzle the one institution that most Britons trust far more than Parliament. The optics of this are so devastating they are almost hard to comprehend. A prime minister, so desperate to cling to power that he will attack the monarchy to silence criticism. According to a new YouGov poll released just 2 hours ago, 68% of voters trust the royal family to act in Britain's best interests. Do you know how many trust the government? 23%. Starmer isn't just fighting a political battle he can't win, he is fighting against the emotional core of British identity itself. Meanwhile, the opposition smells blood in the water, and they are circling for the kill. Nigel Farage, in a moment of pure political theatre, held a press conference at 10 a.m. this morning. And where did he hold it? In front of the Cenotaph War Memorial. The symbolism was perfect, a masterful stroke. Farage stood there, flanked by 40 decorated military veterans, with Union Jacks waving, and his message was brutally effective. Prince William spoke for every decent Briton yesterday. He spoke for our veterans, for our values, for Britain herself. And Keir Starmer's response? Silence, panic, and now, according to reports, an attempt to silence the monarchy itself. That tells you everything you need to know. No shouting, no insults, just quiet, patriotic fury that resonates with millions. Reform UK's membership has surged 180% in 18 hours. The party's phone lines are jammed with former Labour voters demanding to join. Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch, speaking from Tory headquarters, was equally devastating when the future king has to remind the government of its sacred duty to veterans. Something has gone catastrophically wrong. Mr. Starmer has lost the moral authority to govern. The polls, taken this morning, tell the story of a complete political collapse. Labour has dropped from 38% 2 weeks ago to 29% this morning. Conservatives have surged to 34%. Reform UK stands at 19%, their highest rating ever. For the first time in modern British history, this is a genuine three-way race, and all the momentum, all the anger, and all the moral authority is against Keir Starmer. This brings us to the final reckoning. The polls released this morning tell the story of a complete and utter political collapse. Labour, which held a comfortable lead at 38% just 2 weeks ago, has plummeted to 29%. The Conservatives have surged to 34%, and Reform UK is holding strong at 19%. its highest rating ever. The next 48 hours are now the most critical in modern British political history and could determine the future of the UK for decades. Keir Starmer is facing an impossible choice. Tomorrow morning, Prince William is scheduled to attend the Royal British Legion headquarters. This was planned months ago as a routine patronage visit. But palace sources are now confirming he is preparing to make a formal statement about veterans' welfare. If he doubles down on his criticism of government policy, Starmer is trapped. Choice 1, he responds. Attacking the prince, he risks looking petty, vindictive, and deeply unpatriotic, further cementing his image as an enemy of the crown and its armed forces. Choice 2, he stays silent. He watches as his government's credibility and authority evaporate completely, proving that the future king has more influence over the British people than the elected prime minister. Either way, he loses. To make matters worse, King Charles is scheduled to meet with the Prime Minister for their weekly audience on Tuesday. Constitutional protocol requires the meeting, but multiple sources confirm it will be the most tense encounter between a monarch and a Prime Minister since the 1980s. One Buckingham Palace insider told The Times, His Majesty will make his views on the government's sacred duty to veterans abundantly clear. It will not be pleasant for Mr. Starmer. And here is what nobody is talking about yet, but which should terrify Downing Street. The Archbishop of Canterbury, the spiritual leader of the Church of England, is reportedly preparing his own statement supporting Prince William's position. If the Archbishop publicly backs the royal family against the government, Starmer will have lost not just the political and constitutional authority to govern, but the moral and spiritual authority as well. This crisis is now bigger than immigration policy or housing shortages. It's about whether Britain's elected government can survive an open conflict with the monarchy and the church. History suggests it cannot. At its epicenter stands a prime minister who looks increasingly desperate, isolated, and out of touch with the country he claims to lead. So here's the question that's tearing Britain apart tonight. Did Keir Starmer just commit career suicide by going to war with Prince William? Or can he somehow survive the worst crisis any Labour leader has faced in 40 years? What do you think happens when the palace decides to fight back?